Hey there, Mr. Redder here. Welcome back to another episode of Reddit Podcast Stories, where today, my girlfriend wants to go on a trip with a male friend, despite me not being comfortable with it. I met my current girlfriend in our freshman year at college. We hit it off almost immediately and became pretty fast friends. After being friends for a while, I asked her out, and we've been together ever since, coming up on our 2-year anniversary in October. Recently, however, she and I have been fighting over a proposed trip she intends to go on at the end of this month. She has a friend who we'll call Paul, because that's his name and I don't care enough to censor it. I was always aware of him since he lives in her dorm and we've hung out a couple of times. But in the Venn diagram of our friend group, he's always been very firmly in her circle area. I've also always believed that he has feelings for her from only knowing him for a few months. They've always spent an inordinate amount of time together, even more than most of her other friends, and often more than I get to see her in a week. He's also made occasional inappropriate remarks about her, which I won't get into here. I've brought this up to my girlfriend multiple times, but she insists he just sees her as a friend. And while I think she's incorrect, I don't think she's being dishonest. I trust that she has absolutely no interest in him that way, and so I'm mostly okay with their friendship. At this point, it's honestly kind of a joke between us. Well, things between us have soured over Paul in the last week or so. His birthday's coming up soon, and he asked her to go on a trip with him to LA, which is on the opposite side of the country from us. She mentioned the plans in a kind of offhanded manner, and when I said I wouldn't be comfortable with that, she and I got into an awful argument about it. As it turns out, he paid for the trip, including plane tickets, before asking her, and when he asked her, she already agreed to go. I asked her not to go and said I'd find it incredibly inappropriate and hurtful, especially since he only booked one room for both of them. She said I was being hurtful to her friend and would really hurt their relationship. She also says that I was being controlling and accused me of not trusting her. There's a lot more details, but I don't really want to go into them in this post. What should I do, Reddit? I want her to be able to enjoy the last of her summer break, but I'm just not comfortable with this situation. Would it be too unreasonable to ask to go with them? I personally would walk away. She is willfully ignorant, thinking Paul has her best interest at heart. He actively makes inappropriate jokes about her and clearly has feelings for her. I don't care about friends of the opposite gender, but this is a hard pass for me as a person. She wouldn't like it if a girl was talking about your physical features and then off you go to a faraway state one-on-one for a birthday celebration. He doesn't respect boundaries and he sounds creepy. Hopefully, he doesn't do anything unsafe. I would bring up these points again, and if she dismisses them, then that's your sign. Update. So, we split up. I was with her pretty much all night tonight and only just got home. And yeah, we're done. It was ugly. There was a lot of crying. Now, I know some of you might have questions about why I did it. To explain it, I need a metaphor. Have you heard the parable about a boiling frog, where you slowly turn up the heat on a frog in a pot so it doesn't realize it's being cooked alive? Well, if you gave the frog a thermometer, it might suddenly realize that it was being boiled and hop out. That's what my post on here was. It wasn't until I was reading through and considering responding to some of the comments I got that I realized how big the problems in my relationship were, because they had started small and built up over the course of literal years. I decided that whether or not my girlfriend decided to go was ultimately inconsequential. The truth was, this was never about the trip. This was about my girlfriend's treatment of me. The truth was, I trusted her on the trip. Deep down, with every fiber of my being, I trusted that she was sincere in her denials of their situation. I do not believe she would have done anything, but I don't think it matters. The simple fact is, she had been consistently downplaying and disregarding my feelings for years, all the while defending Paul, who had been manipulating her and several of our other friends. I could go into why I think this is, the desire to be a hero, etc., but none of it matters. She had dismissed my feelings out of hand and was willing to hurt me and belittle me in defense of Paul's behaviors, which she ultimately admitted were sketchy and manipulative. That's just a cold hard fact. Those aren't traits I want in a partner, and now I don't have to worry about that. As for me, I feel like my world just ended. I'd love if someone could give me some advice on how to handle this. I've never had a breakup this painful before. I'm also having serious regrets. Please let me know what y'all think. Right now, I'm going to get plastered and go to sleep and hope somehow my life is bearable in the morning. Good night, Reddit. You're a great example of learning to set boundaries and gaining self-worth. Props to you, brother. It's going to hurt for a long time, but time will eventually drain that cold pain in your chest, and it will fill with boiling courage and independence. Worst thing you can do is relapse and run back to her. Keep your eyes on the path ahead and get excited that the girl that respects you is closer than you think. P.S. I've gone to the ER for heartbreak, it hurts so bad, but I'm giving you advice because I empathize. OP. Right now, it's not even grief. I'm sure that'll come later, but that's not what I'm feeling. I just feel cold. Not angry, not sad, just cold. I keep thinking about how much pain she's in, and I know that I caused it because I wasn't happy. It all seems so selfish, but I know I have to put the oxygen mask on myself or whatever. She cried a lot, asked me how I could do this to us, to her, told me we could fix this, that I had never given her a sign, etc. Yeah, she's blocked right now. I just don't want to see those messages at the moment. I don't know how long we can keep it up though. We have a lot of the same friends and move in the same social circles. Update. It was rough for a while. I'm not going to lie, it still is. I didn't realize how many parts of my life she had touched until all of them started aching, and now I'm having to deal with the lingering pain of all the things I don't share with her anymore. I've had good days and bad days, but the good ones generally outweigh the bad. Our friend group split up right along with us. There were a couple of ugly fights, and I lost a few good friends, but I take a sort of tragic pride in the knowledge that I kept most of our friends in my life. I'm very glad that they've been so supportive of me right now. In unrelated but important news, important to me at least, I had to put my cat down last week as well, and I'm just generally not having a good time, but this week is a lot better than the last one, so things are trending up. I went back to the gym for the first time in literal years, so it's been nice. Still getting back into the swing of things and trying to get comfortable in a new gym, which takes some getting used to. I've been taking care of myself in other ways, listening to a lot of sad music, starting up a D&D game, and just generally taking it easy. I might even try a bit of writing again. Don't know if this is the kind of update you're looking for, but it's what's been going on. Update. OP has confirmed the trip did not go ahead. X has had a falling out with Paul and is now remorseful. Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or his ex? Please let us know. When you have strong boundaries that your partner is not willing to respect, it's time for both of you to find a new partner. Am I the jerk for buying a $50,000 guitar for $4,000 and refusing to sell it back when the buyer found out the real value? This happened a while back. My wife and I still talk about it every once in a while. She's on my side and most of our friends and family are. However, when it happened, it was like WW3 between us and her coworkers and others. Here we go. I've been playing the guitar for 22 years. I know guitar values and whatnot very well. I'm very into the guitar market. At my wife's old company, she was hanging out with coworkers one day after work, and she mentioned that I play guitar. A coworker, who I guess is very popular at work, said that his dad passed recently, and he was selling his dad's things. His dad had a guitar, and he asked my wife if I'd be interested in it. My wife texted me and said to have him send me the info of the guitar and the price. The next day, he texted me the pics and the price. It was a 1952 Telecaster in mint condition. He had the original receipts, which was crazy. That's how I know the date. I asked what he wanted for it, and he said he looked up Telecasters online and he thinks $4,000 is fair. I texted back, I'll take it for $4,000, and we went to pick it up. The guitar had no sentimental value to him at all. Here's the issue at hand. The guitar was, and is, worth approximately $50,000 depending on the buyer, and I knew it. When I got the guitar, I told my wife the price and what it was worth. She was floored. Fast forward 2 weeks, her coworker tells my wife he just found out what the guitar was actually worth from a family friend and he wanted it back. She said, well, he really likes the guitar and he knew that it was worth $50,000, which is why he was floored when you offered it to him for $4,000. He really likes it and I doubt he'll sell it back to you, but you can ask. Probably not the smartest thing for her to say, but she was caught off guard and it's not her fault or problem. He contacted me and asked to buy it back. I said that it's not for sale. He then said I scammed him and he was going to sue me and take my wife to HR for being a part of the scam, which was nuts, but he actually did contact HR. They were cool about it and said it's not their problem, it's between him and me. Over the next few months, he made things very uncomfortable for my wife at work. He would bug her constantly about it. She eventually had to go to HR for harassment and they actually let him go. She complained twice and he was warned but didn't stop. He's contacted me several times about it, so I got a restraining order for harassment too. I blocked him too. I haven't heard from him in about a year. Am I the jerk? Update. Just to clear up some things. I left some things out because I didn't want to influence anyone's opinion, and I really wanted it to be about me buying a guitar at a significantly lower market value versus the people in the story. I did include the fact the guy was harassing my wife at work, not to make the guy sound bad, but because I thought it was relevant to the story. Here's some specific details I chose to not include. The guy and his dad were not close at all. So these people saying that he was grieving and I took advantage of him, that's 100% not the case. When I went to get the guitar, he was telling me he hadn't talked to his dad in 6 years and was actually annoyed he had to deal with a funeral. The dad bought the guitar new and never played it. Luckily, it was stored in a closet and not in a basement or attic. There's no issue with the wood or electronics. It plays like a dream and I couldn't be happier. I'm not selling the guitar to the son or anyone. It will be with me for a long time. I'm in my 30s, so maybe in 30 years it will find a new home. I would have maybe considered giving the guy more money or giving him one of my guitars to sell on his own, but I decided not to do that after he left a terrible voicemail on my phone the day he found out the real value. He demanded it back like he was entitled to an object he sold fair and square, called me names, called my wife names, and said he would do bad things if I didn't sell him the guitar back. And to those people who say they would have told the guy the real value, that's a load of BS. If you went to a garage sale or estate sale and saw an item worth $5,000 priced at $50, there's not a chance that you would walk up to the homeowner and tell them that they mispriced it. You'd buy the item and then tell all your friends and family what a great score you got. Don't even kid yourself like you wouldn't do that. I don't feel bad about buying an awesome guitar at a steal of a price. I was curious what others would think, and it looks like I'm not the jerk, so thank you, Reddit. I can play the guitar with zero guilt now, not like I felt guilty before, but now my feelings are justified. The seller claimed to have checked value and priced it accordingly. Buyers don't usually negotiate up. Am I the jerk for saying my wife will have to quit her job if we get kicked out of another daycare? My wife and I have a 3-year-old daughter, Alex. Both of us work, and Alex has attended daycare since she was 1. In the 2 years since, we've been asked to leave 2 programs because my wife is a micromanager. I admit both of us went into the first program not really understanding daycare. I quickly learned that they can't provide personalized care, and after learning from our teachers, I reset my expectations. My wife, however, has a lot of anxiety and worries about our daughter. She hates when she gets even a little upset. She's in therapy and is working on it. First program, my wife would constantly watch the live feed and call the daycare multiple times a day. We had several talks about it, and the school talked to us twice. My wife ended up screaming at one of the teachers and then the director. We were terminated immediately. Second daycare was a little better because my wife began therapy, but my wife was still so nervous and had a complaint every single day. These were not important things, small things like she saw another kid took a toy from Alex and she would cry. The teacher would give the toy back to Alex, but my wife didn't understand why the other kid wasn't punished for it. This daycare didn't kick us out, but did eventually suggest that this may not be the best program for us. My wife and I decided to pull Alex out. My wife, because of her anxiety, myself, because I knew my wife has burned bridges and was becoming one of those moms. We chose a smaller home daycare this time, as we couldn't afford another center. The woman who owns it is very nice, but also firm. She stands by her boundaries and won't let my wife break any rules, whereas the centers were definitely more accommodating. My wife would take any inch she got. This time, she doesn't get that opportunity. I thought all was well, as the owner only speaks to my wife for the most part. Then I get put in a group text saying my wife has been bombarding the owner with texts every day, despite the owner saying she will text her at lunch when things are settled. She said at this point she will only be responding at specific times of the day and not looking at the rest. The owner then added several pages of the contract with passages highlighted, reminding us of certain policies my wife had violated. I was ticked. When Alex went to bed that night, my wife and I talked. I said this was our last option for daycare. The other centers are too expensive, and this was the only home daycare in the area that we like. A nanny is not in our budget. My wife made a million excuses, including that it's not her fault she's anxious. I said if we are asked to leave this program too, she will be the one quitting her job to watch Alex, not me. This upset my wife. I pointed out I've spoken to her kindly about this plenty of times. I encouraged her to keep up her therapy, but she can't keep getting us kicked out of programs. My wife is now not speaking to me. Am I the jerk? Edit. I cannot be the primary contact for daycare due to not being able to have my phone on me at work. Not the jerk. To keep it 100% honest with you, 20 years down the line, your daughter most likely will have decided to not be part of your lives. Your wife is the exact definition of a toxic helicopter parent. She's going to not only ruin your life, already in that process, your daughter's life in the future, and her own life as well. Exactly. OP's wife isn't just a helicopter parent, but a steamroller. She will steamroll any and all challenges their daughter will ever face, making sure that their daughter is either terrified of the world or completely incapable of dealing with any kind of disappointment or challenge or both. OP needs to do something now if he wants a relationship with his daughter and make sure his daughter doesn't inherit his wife's crippling anxiety. Am I the jerk for finally telling my mother-in-law that her mac and cheese tastes terrible? My husband, 30 male, and I, 28 female, have been married for 2 years, together for 5 years, and currently 6 months pregnant. We are very excited and blessed because I've had some complications in getting pregnant. I have a very good relationship with my in-laws, and if any of us ever had a problem, we're able to talk it through. Except for one thing. My mother-in-law has her famous mac and cheese that everyone in her family absolutely loves. I, however, find it disgusting on day one, but I didn't want to come off as rude and ungrateful, so I pulled through it without saying anything. I told my husband about it, and he said that his mother has been making it for decades, perfecting the recipe, and she would be deeply offended if anyone told her anything bad about her mac and cheese, so I should just find the right moment to tell her. He, for some reason, loves it, so he didn't want to be the one to tell her, which I totally understand because it is my issue and I had to deal with it. It's been almost 2 years of me pretending. So 2 days ago, I decided to just tell her. It was a family dinner where my husband's parents had invited us over, and of course his mother was making her so-called famous mac and cheese. I almost threw up at the smell of it, and I couldn't bear the thought of eating it, probably because I was pregnant. So at dinner, when I was offered the mac and cheese, I politely declined and said, "No thank you." My mother-in-law looked at me and asked, "Why? You should eat. Good for the baby." And I just went right out with it. "I'm sorry, but I don't like your mac and cheese. Everything else tastes delicious, but this is the one thing I simply cannot eat anymore." She looked so deeply offended, and she literally snapped, "Well, thanks for being honest," and didn't even look at me or speak to me for the rest of the evening. My husband was on my side and tried to speak to his mother, but all I know is that it didn't work because she's been cold to me ever since. What was wrong with the mac and cheese? Her perfecting the recipe ended up with this result. Mac and cheese combined with salmon, kimchi, pineapple, seaweed salad, collard greens, onions, and garlic. I don't have a problem with the greens or onion, but the rest tastes so disgustingly wrong with mac and cheese. However, the reason why I think I might have been the jerk is because, like my husband said, she's been perfecting this recipe for years. Her entire family clearly loves it, and I tell her that her perfected and loved mac and cheese is terrible. Am I the jerk? Edit. I did tell her that because I'm pregnant, it wasn't possible for me to stomach the ingredients, but she still doesn't want to talk to me. I'm French, and my husband's family is Korean, so that will explain the ingredients. I do enjoy salmon, kimchi, and seaweed salads, but it greatly depends on which dishes it's served with. And since I've been pregnant, I've even developed an aversion to several foods that I used to love. Not the jerk a million times over. That thing that she makes is not mac and cheese. It barely qualifies as food. What it is a crime against humanity that she should be jailed for. You lost me with the salmon and kimchi and the mac and cheese. You get not the jerk for standing up against crimes against cuisine. Not the jerk. When she first asked, you said no thank you. You didn't insult her, and you just said you weren't interested. That was short, crisp, and to the point. She wanted to know why, so you told her after she asked. Good for you. Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or mother-in-law? Please let us know. I honestly think it sounds delicious. My mouth is watering right now, but I'll admit I eat some pretty interesting things. Today I messed up by realizing I destroyed an art piece in a gallery 10 years ago. While this event happened 10 years ago, I literally just realized an hour ago what I actually did. In 2014, I was just completing my master's degree in design. Now, the way the degree was set up, it was one course of 40 people, but we were all doing different areas. Dance, architecture, sculptures, textiles, everything and anything. We'd have lectures together and present the progress on our projects every couple of months. So end of year comes around and we start setting up our final gallery show. The space we were using was the first year art students' workshop, which we cleared out and prepped and painted fresh. When I arrived to do my part, one wall was a mess. It had like 100 holes all over it. I was upset that a first year did this to a structural wall and grabbed a sandpaper, filler, and paint to fix it. The show went ahead fine with a warning, wet paint sign in that section. I think you can tell where this is going. You know how your brain suddenly reminds you of things out of nowhere? Like, uh-oh, my laundry, or, I forgot to pay that bill. Well, I'm set in bed today, and suddenly I realize, uh-oh, that was Anna's master degree piece. You see, Anna was a part-time, mature student on different hours to the rest of us. We saw one presentation of her work, which was about making repeated holes and cuts into paper and card. I never thought about it much again. She must have come in before the rest of us, created the wall piece for the show, and left. And I'd gone and filled it and painted it away. To be fair, she never left any note or name on the piece. I don't even know if she knew what happened to it, since it's not like she would need to come back to collect it after the show, since it was, a wall. If she did, I hope she saw humor in it and added it to the piece's story. Humans crave to repair damage, etc. Either way, I'm now silently cringing and may need to repent to the art gods, lest karma strike me. Edit. We had already presented our work for grading before the show, so I didn't affect her grades at all. By structural wall, I really meant a permanent outer wall of the room, rather than a temporary one built for hanging work in the show that is removed later. Why did I repair a random wall? When you put on an art show, often you start with a grotty space that needs clearing up first. We had 3 days to clear out the junk, scrub the floors, repair damage, build temporary gallery walls, paint everything white, hang work and lighting, and clear up any construction mess. We all turned up whenever we had time to pitch in before the show. Am I the jerk for sleeping in the guest bedroom after my husband continues to take showers at 3 a.m. with loud music? My husband has started working night shifts, 8 p.m. to 3 a.m., over 2 months ago, and has since been using our en-suite bathroom for showers after work. This would have been okay, but he plays loud music through the Bluetooth speakers and claims he needs it to wind down. I've asked him repeatedly to use the shower downstairs and have even set it up for him with the same products he has in our en-suite. I've been using the bathroom downstairs every morning so I don't disturb him while getting ready for work, but he refuses to do the same. Since I'm a light sleeper, and after being sleep deprived for so long, I decided to sleep in the guest bedroom yesterday. He claims I'm being petty and should talk to him about this as opposed to sleeping in the guest room. The thing is, I've tried talking to him about it, but I usually don't bring up the discussion when it's happening and prefer to do it the next day after work, so I'm not upset and can have a rational discussion. He's been going around telling our family and friends, and they all think I'm being petty. I'm not sure if I'm doing something wrong or how else to go about dealing with this situation. I need to know if I'm the jerk. What is he telling friends and family that they're on his side? I haven't gotten the whole story to be honest, but they're all focusing on me not sleeping in our bedroom. Apparently, this turns it into an argument or a fight. I've gotten messages from a couple of mutual friends and family members, but haven't responded yet. Is this new behavior? The funny thing is, he used to be really quiet and considerate in the mornings when he started work earlier than me. I don't know why he's having difficulties replicating after work. Does he usually run to his friends and family with things like this? There's only been a couple of instances, 2 that I can think of, when he has discussed things with his family and friends. I guess that's what he uses as an outlet. I do this too with people I identify as my support system, to get advice and let my feelings out. That being said, no one has ever confronted or made direct comments to him. Fortunately, he's really considerate in general. This is the first time that he's acted like this. I initially thought he was acting out because he's a morning person and is rarely up at that hour by choice. His family usually tends to side with him, but I have a feeling our friends don't know the whole story. I haven't responded to their messages yet. I like some part of my life to be private. I do see the irony in saying this after posting on Reddit for everyone to judge. Update. I started the morning at 5:30 with a quick run on the treadmill. Our home gym is right next to our bedroom. Thanks for the idea. This poor guy woke up and practically ran into the room thinking someone was trying to break in. He looked terrified. He was confused and concerned as opposed to angry when he was questioning what I'm doing and if everything is okay. I told him I'm too tired due to lack of sleep and didn't want to drive to my spin class. I thought it's a good idea to have a quick workout at home to wake me up and stimulate endorphins. Either he was stunned into silence or was too tired to put up a fight. It took him a while to ask how long I planned on working out for. I said 45 minutes and didn't catch the response he mumbled as he was leaving. I finished my workout at 6:15 and had a smoothie hoping he'd fall asleep, if he hadn't already, before hopping into the shower and carrying out phase 2. With doors locked and the volume set to what he usually uses, I put on my playlist to work. I now realize that you can't really hear the music with the speakers outside the shower unless the volume is relatively high. 30 seconds in, the first song plays, Awakened by Death Clock. I hear him knocking on the door. I figured I could use the music and shower as an excuse to claim I didn't hear it. This increased to banging, calling out to me by the second song, and by the third one, there was complete silence. I think he only stuck around for so long since heating up another room might have taken a while. Thanks everyone for the music suggestions. I wish he had stayed for the whole playlist. By the time I'm out of the shower, our bedroom is empty. I find him watching TV downstairs. He asked me why I would do this when he's just finished a long shift and hasn't had any sleep. Told him I thought it was acceptable since he does the same thing. Like most commenters pointed out, the whole situation shows lack of care, and I was curious why he doesn't care and what caused him to change so drastically, because he usually isn't like this. After a lot of pushing, he finally admits that he likes our conversations after work and figured if I was up, we would talk. I don't understand how this is the thought process of a grown man. He claims he didn't realize it was an issue for me because I haven't been as angry about it. Here I was thinking the situation required patience and understanding. I also realized he's still grieving his grandmother's passing. She passed in April. They used to talk on a daily basis, and he hasn't fully accepted the loss and proceeded in a healthy manner. He's open to the idea of getting therapy to process it. I don't think this excuses his behavior, but it does explain a lot. Getting back to the showering at 3 a.m., we've agreed on the following. He will use the shower downstairs after working night shifts. If he wants to use our shared bathroom, it has a jacuzzi, he will text me before I go to bed and I'll sleep in the guest bedroom. I realized I was pretty much doing this to myself after the first week. I've learned that I don't owe anyone comfort at the expense of my own well-being, and I shouldn't have let it go on for so long. Yes, he's immature and childish, but I'm hoping we can work on it together. Like I mentioned in the comments, he's been very considerate and loving, except for a few isolated incidents, less than 5, during the 7 years I've known him. I don't think it's reasonable to expect someone to be perfect 100% of the time. I feel the need to point out that no one should use this statement to stay in an unhappy relationship. Am I the jerk for telling my parents they should just get a divorce? I, 16 male, have parents that really need to just get divorced. My dad has cheated on my mom in the past while she was pregnant. My mom didn't want a divorce because she didn't want us to come from a broken home. My mom used to be a family therapist. She thinks divorce has a negative effect on the kids, so they decided to reconcile and stay in the marriage for the kids. That's not going well. My mom quit her job and took a low-paying teacher's job to focus more on the house. As far as I know, they went to counseling and tried to work on their marriage, but I can see there's still tension between them. From the outside, they look like a happy couple, but they just ignore each other at home. My dad didn't stop cheating. This is like a cycle. My dad gets caught cheating, he begs my mom to give him another chance. Mom forgives him, and he stays good for a few days before going back to his old habits. Each time, I can see the life draining from my mom's eyes. I can see she is exhausted too. It hasn't been easy for me either. I dreaded coming home. I joined a summer program just to get away from home. My mom and dad tried to be civil, but my mom obviously lost all feelings for dad. She just doesn't care if he comes home late at night or not. My sister is suffering from it as well. She grew up around all of this. I tried to get help from my school's counselor, but it was a dead end. Last week, my mom and dad were fighting. My mom was having an affair with a teacher at her school. My dad got furious. My mom called him names, called him a hypocrite, and told him the only reason she is in this marriage is for the kids. I yelled, "Then just get a divorce." My mom and dad were a bit shocked because normally I don't scream. My mom called me ungrateful that she has sacrificed so much to keep this family together. I told her, "How is that going? Clearly you both have failed at it. Just get a divorce and leave me and my sister out of this toxic home." My dad grounded me. He canceled my trip for November as a result and also cut off my allowance. The only reason I have my laptop is for my school. Did I say something wrong? Update. So a miracle happened. My mom came to my room and talked to me. It was a few hours after I posted. She was way more calm than she usually is. She asked me if I really wanted the divorce to happen. I told her my side. I told her my experience of seeing them being hateful towards each other, seeing her suffer because my dad won't stop cheating. I knew dad was a jerk, but I was more angry with her for not leaving when she had the chance. How can she think that this is a good thing for us? She never cared how I thought of dad when I learned he was cheating. I dreaded seeing her suffer, and I'm afraid that I'm never going to get married in the future because of watching them. I always wondered why they are even together if they don't love each other. I was a kid, sure, but I wasn't an idiot. My mom cried. She told me there were several times she thought about leaving, but couldn't because she thought she was doing the wrong thing and it would make me and my sister suffer. When she started her affair, she was slowly sorting things out for her. She has been planning her exit since then. She had already contacted a divorce lawyer and drafted the papers, and she was going to serve my dad later, but her affair got exposed. She wanted the divorce to be amicable, but now it seems it's not possible because my dad is refusing to divorce her. I told her it will be better if me and my sister live with our uncle for a while. She admitted that's a good choice. I hugged her, and she called my uncle the next morning. Me and my sister left with him. My mom also left the house, leaving my dad alone. My dad tried to argue that she can't leave him, but since my uncle was there, he couldn't do much. My mom told me and my sister that she will call and she is staying with a friend of hers. I think this time she will go through with the divorce. I don't care who cheats on whom. I just wish all of this to end. I may come back once my parents get a divorce. Better to grow up in 2 happy homes than 1 broken home. Genuinely can't understand how a family therapist thought staying together for the kids would be better. My new Karen neighbor won't let me do my job. So my grandparents live in a gated community. It's kind of expensive, so people who live there can be kind of jerks, but nothing as bad as in this story. So I went over to my grandparents one weekend, and my grandmother asks me if I could go help the neighbor's kid with a school project. It was about 8 at night, but I can never say no to this woman. I went over, ready to do some work, when entitled neighbor answers the door. Karen: "You must be the neighbor's grandson. Thanks for coming by so late." Me: "Yeah, it's cool. Where's your son?" "He's over there by the computer. He already has the research done. He just needs help making the presentation." I think to myself, wow, this'll be easy. I introduced myself to the kid. He's about 12, and overall he was a nice kid, if not a little nervous. As we're doing the project, entitled neighbor is standing by the counter watching over us and commenting on the work. Karen: "Could you make that picture bigger, please? We want to make sure the class sees it. Same with the words." Me: "Yeah, sure, no problem." I make the pictures a bit bigger and more central and make the words look more like commentary. She chimes in again, a bit ruder. Bigger. We have to make sure the people in the back can see it." Me: "But if we make it bigger, we won't be able to fit the words and pictures on one slide." "That's fine. Just make them bigger." Me: "Okay, tell me when." I start slowly making the font bigger until one of them tells me to stop. She doesn't tell me to stop till I get up to 48, and even then, the words are barely fitting on the slide. Entitled mom: "Perfect. Now, just do all the slides like that, and we'll be done in a jiffy." We weren't gonna be. Every time I tried to help this kid make his presentation look better, even when he tried to make it look better, she had to interject. It was always, "Make this bigger. I can't see that from here. Take that off, it looks tacky." This went on for 2 hours. Finally, we finish. Karen's kid: "This looks great. Thanks so much. I can't wait to show this off in class." That's when I noticed that the presentation is 36 slides long. There was absolutely no way he was going to be allowed to present something this long in a classroom. I told him as much, and I said the same to his mother. Karen: "No, I think it looks perfect. I'm sure the teacher won't mind his being a little extra long." Me: "But he could seriously lose points if he doesn't shorten it, or worse, doesn't present." Karen's kid: "I mean, we can shorten some of the less big stuff." "Fine, if you think it'll get him a better grade, but it's on you if he fails." I was a bit annoyed at that comment, but at least I made some progress. We managed to bring the slides down from 36 to 28, at which point it was hard to compress stuff without deleting sections outright. Now, some of you are probably saying, "Goodness, 28 slides for a 12-year-old? That's a lot for a teacher to assign." I do agree, but this story takes place in late January, so I figured it was one of those Christmas break projects that were really long. When I finally take a look at his rubric for the project, I saw something horrible. The assignment called for 8 to 10 slides. I was so upset because we now had to cut out so much. I go to the mother to talk about it. Me: "Hey, so the project calls for 8 to 10 slides, so we're gonna have to cut some stuff out." "No, my child spent hours getting that research, and all of it is going to be in the presentation." Me: "But the teacher will never let him actually present that in class. It's too long." Entitled mom, slightly more annoyed: "I thought you were working for so long to fix that problem." Me: "That was before I knew it was originally 4 times as long as the maximum." "Whatever. It's better to go over than under anyways. If he's done with the presentation, you can leave." At this point, it was almost 11 at night, and I just didn't have the energy to deal with it anymore. I wasn't even getting paid for this. The most I got was some hot chocolate. It tasted horrible, by the way. About a week and a half goes by, and my grandmother calls me, saying she just got off the phone with her neighbor. Apparently, her kid got a terrible grade on the project, and it was all my fault. I caught up with the kid a while later. He got a B-. I told her the situation, and she hangs up to talk to the lady. When she calls back, she says that the lady did confirm that's what happened, but still says it's my fault. Needless to say, I was not asked, nor did I ever offer to help her again. This kid's mother is an idiot. Not your fault, you tried to help, but she has too big of an ego. Lesson learned, if you go to help someone, but for some reason they don't let you help, walk away. Do this next. Tap here on your screen to come see our new podcast playlist, where you'll find thousands of hours of the best stories you've ever heard. Or tap the one on the right. That episode is specifically just for you, based on other videos you've enjoyed the most.